Morning and welcome to Going to Work with Gena, which is an inspiration for STEM students. I am Dr. Gena Henderson, and guess what today is? Today is Python Wednesday. Yes, Python Wednesday, and I always start out by letting you know what I'm diffusing today. Today I'm diffusing valor because I use valor for my core courage, my confidence, my self-esteem, as well as it has some other things that it could do for you therapeutically, but I use it for those to get me started during my day and as I go through my day. So what I want to do right now is I want to go back and revisit division. We are in division and we want to talk about division. But one thing we really got to understand is we got to really understand what we're asking for when we start using functions. So the first thing I want to do is I want to import the math function. Okay. I want to import the math function. Then I want to go back and revisit div mod. Remember, we were doing div mod between 12 and 2. And we got 6 and 0. Remember, 6 is the quotient integer and 0 is whatever the remainder was. Well, that's only when you're using integers. So what happens when you actually use let's see, for instance, we use a float, meaning that it has a decimal with it, okay? We use a float and then we use an integer, okay? So when we use a float in an integer, we get, I did div mode. It should be div mod. See how it tells you the mistakes that you're actually making as you make them? So how do I know if that is actually true? So it tells me that when you divide a float by integer, you get a float, okay? It gives you a float. And then it gives you the remainder of whatever that float is divided by 2. So it takes the 0.99 is, it's like once you divide 2 into that, that's what you would get as the remainder. Okay, so it's different than what we talked about last week. There's a difference between integers, dividing by integers when using divis mode, and there's a difference between using the float, which are real values, which are values with decimals. Okay, so that's the simple, easy lesson that I wanted to give you today, is that whenever you use mixed numbers, where you're using a decimal and an integer, and you are using the function div mod, okay, what it does is it returns the quotient, okay, as a float, which is a decimal, and it returns the remainder as whatever the x value is divided by the y value, but it takes the remainder of that value, okay? So I want to thank you for going to work with Gena this morning. If there's any infomercials that you've missed, please don't hesitate to go to YouTube, going to work with Gena. It's Python Wednesday.